What is something that you shouldn't know, but you know? My ex's most commonly used password. Never whisper your password while entering it. Alligator 4. I know that my grandpa actually died in a Vietnamese prison where they kept all the rich Chinese people. He didn't die while trying to save a drowning child on the refugee boat like my mom and aunts have been telling me. Apparently I wasn't supposed to know that. The title and plot of a future Disney movie. I used to work at a data center where a lot of the rendering takes place, and one day I was talking with one of the techs that was working there. They had a lot of cool stories about the processes involved in making these movies and cool facts like the average Disney movie is 88 minutes long because that's how long an average 5-year-old can hold their bladder. When this movie hits 88 minutes, you're gonna see some serious shit. Someone is getting fired next Friday. I know the size of my sister's DLDO. If it's big enough, it could give her a supermassive black hole. Then there's the danger of it collapsing. It's really amazing what one can learn from watching Cosmos. That a certain person in my family is adopted. It's either Colin, James, Paul, Sam, Chin Jin Hei, or Matt. I'm pretty sure that it's Paul. My dad is a pretty hardcore alcoholic. He is usually content to get hammered peacefully at home and take himself to bed. But on occasion he gets emotional and wants to talk. There was a period of time before he was married to his now wife that it was just he and I at home. One evening he told me a story about when he was a teenager. He lived in Arkansas and ended up watching a black friend of his get lynched. I have no idea how true it is, but I brought it up once when he was sober. His reaction scared me. Made me feel it wasn't just a drunken tale. I've been too scared to talk about it since and just consider it a burden only he and I share. My grandparents were swingers. And apparently, not very discreet. All my friends' parents remember being in high school and seeing my grandparents chatting up the other parents' teachers. That my brother's best friend as a kid is actually our half-brother. That my ex-girlfriend cheated on her current boyfriend. And also that before she got into that relationship, that she sucked dick for Taco Bell. Like seriously? Taco Bell is like $5. I would suck a dick for free Taco Bell. And not because I can't afford it. My parents were never aware of the fact how thin the walls actually were. So I heard them effing every time. I live in a small town of 8,000 people and the most openly religious and generous people in my town, also richest, move drugs through their businesses. Now I have to watch Bates Motel and Under the Dome. Plot twist. I know that my aunt was arped by the husband of my other aunt. He died a few years ago now and I have to bite my tongue whenever my cousins talk about what a great guy he was. Just to clarify, the arpe was never reported to the police. My mum and her brothers and sisters and presumably my grandparents knew about it. The people who go on about him being a great guy are my cousins and the aunt who was married to him. Just remember that my granddad apparently beat the living crap out of him when he found out. A couple people I know have at least a bucket full of MDMA ecstasy sitting somewhere ready to be sold. At least $30k worth of it. That my husband sometimes jerks it right beside me in the bed at night when he thinks I am sleeping. I'm a light sleeper. Also, I am torn on whether I should just help him out or if he would be embarrassed that I was totally awake the whole time. The fact that my dad watches PRN. I looked at the browser history of his computer to find out how he automatically blocked the internet after 11 PM every day. Now I know that he's into Bulgarian chicks getting FK'd by Asians. I have accidentally stumbled on my dad's PRN collection 3 separate times. He's into short, blonde, teenage girls with small tits. Yep. That's what I look like. I also found his book on confronting Azul addiction once. It wasn't hidden very well. 2. My mum is blonde. But like a sandy darker blonde than the platinum girls in the PRN and me. And actually, Her hair is naturally brown. And she's very tall. With a big set of knockers and olive skin. Other than having her skiing arms and shoulders. We don't look at all alike. That my divorced parents are having an affair. Together. Yup. Logic is not strong with these two. However. They're trying to hide it from me and my sister. But not very successfully. Well. Better this way. I like to avoid the drama and awkwardness of the situation. That my mom would do cocaine in order to stay up all night with me while I was a baby. I overheard her talking about it a few years ago while she was drunk. Warning, this is kinda depressing. That my dad killed himself a month or so ago. My mom divorced him when I was little and illegally wasn't allowed to contact me in any way until I was 18. A little over a year ago, him and my half-sister found a way to contact me. And she called me one day and told me he hung himself and was in the hospital and wouldn't make it. I never got to see him in real life or hear his voice. We only ever texted each other. No one on my side of the family knows, and even if my mom did know, I don't think she'd give a damn. She's happy with her life and boyfriend now and has never talked to me at all about my dad. That was longer than I expected it to be. Sorry. Edit. Thank you, you're all so nice. For over a year now I've had a co-worker who is a constant FCK up. And whose continued employment despite all she's done reminds me the universe is evil. Ash recently got promoted. And one of my bosses held a meeting at her desk, which was a group of her friends bitching about the newly promoted woman. The boss of said boss found out about the meeting. And came over to talk to her about it. Annoyer, I could hear every word. The complainer said it was me who had spoke all the shit that her boss had come over to investigate. After about a week of holding back, I confronted the boss about using me as a scapegoat. Ash lied to my face that I misheard her. And has been doing her best to get me fired in the week since. Bad move. Other than stroking your own ego, it never pays to confront someone who has power over you. This kind of info is best used to get them fired, i.e. You should have told her boss about it. When I was probably in 3rd grade, I was in my parents' bathroom and found a trifold pamphlet of PRN. My aunt was babysitting, so I showed it to her and she stuck on the top shelf in the bathroom where I couldn't reach. Wondering what the FCK it was. I went back later to look closer. Up in the back of the top shelf I found my parents' PRN collection of movies and books and a very large DLDO. I also once found that DLDO tangled in a blanket in the living room one morning before my parents were up. Guess they forgot to clean up the night before. We moved when I was in 6th grade. I accidentally found their stash again when I was in high school and caught my mom throwing away a DLDO. That my dad had sex with his mom. My grandmother. Lucky it's not. That my dad had sex with his mom. My mom. You might want to get a DNA test and a banjo. Friend. A co-worker of mine replies the Craigslist casual encounter ads and he has a girlfriend. I work with him and his girlfriend. I know a lot of things about my little sister that she wouldn't want me to know. She should stop using Google Drive as a diary. Edit. Do most people not mess with their siblings? You should write her some messages in it. Just to FCK with her. I recently learned the location of the last remaining individuals of an endangered species in the wild. Due to a PowerPoint slide that was supposed to be taken out of the presentation by the biologist. A couple of my friends have slept with each other. One of them is engaged. I don't know what to do. Pick which friend is the best friend and tell them you just found out. That my older brother is only my half brother. When my mom was young, 19, she was married to my dad, 31. It was an abusive situation. Mostly verbal. My dad was arrested for theft and my mom tried to get away from him. She ended up pregnant from someone else. My dad was released and found her. He raised my brother as his own. I knew years before my brother found out. My dad never found out that either of us knew. 2 of my cousins are child molesters, but neither of them are aware the other is into it. How do I know? They molested me. what it looks like, and worse, how bad it smells when a woman poops while pushing out her baby. Being a birth worker, I'm used to it. But that is something no one should have to know. I swear it stinks worse than normal poo. I saw my 2 daughters be born and my wife pooped the second time. It was the worst smell imaginable and nobody in the room besides me seemed fazed by it. I know one of my friends is gay. I was looking at his Reddit account one day because he told me he had a shitty ton of karma, and I was genuinely curious as what he was posting to get so many upvotes. A while ago in high school he told me his Reddit account and I remembered it from then. When I saw he submitted to a series of gay Reddits with him describing himself in detail, I knew he had to be gay. He also posted in a bunch of subreddits for things that he has interest in like sports and rap, so I'm 100% sure it's his account at this point. I really don't care and it changes nothing. I just feel bad that this is the way I had to find out. Through Reddit. My parents had, or have, a book of sex positions. Don't go looking for Christmas presents in your parents' room. Don't listen to him. Kids, they're probably in the nightstand and you should definitely try to find them. My best friend's girlfriend likes to be choked during sex. She would be mortified if she knew that. I know that my mother has a secret phone. Worst part is I don't know why. Torn between whether I wish I never knew about the phone or why the FCK she has one. Edit. My French nan was a high class hooker for NATO on whatever organization there existed in the 50s 60s. It made her very rich. I know that she worked out of a Paris office for the UN for several years after World War II. She spoke around 20 languages. She was a rather attractive young woman who had to work with higher officials most. Given that this was the 50s 60s, these men in higher positions made it rain francs, dollars, pounds or whatever they had for her company. That my friend's father had an affair with a 16-year-old girl while he was working in her school. Now he is on the run and in hiding because the girl's father put a bounty on his head. Till putting a bounty on someone's head is still a thing. After my grandfather, mother's side, died, I was helping my dad clean out his office. He saved everything. I mean everything. He had stacks of letters going back to the 60s. He used to travel in Europe quite a bit and I discovered what looked to be a folder of old letters from around that time. I glanced at the first one and saw "The world love you" written on there. I put it down and mentioned that I'd found some letters my grandfather had written my grandmother while in Europe. My dad immediately jumped up and came over. He took one look at the letter, said, "Oh my god," and grabbed the whole stack. In that instant, I looked at it more closely. It was from my grandfather. But the correspondent was not my grandmother. I've never confirmed this with anyone or mentioned to any relatives. I don't know if anybody besides myself and my dad know. Or if he knows I know. It's all in the past. Anyway. I know that half of my friends do cocaine alone. And that none of them know the others do it. How to prepare the rope to prevent burns in BDSM. If you don't want to spend a lot of money to get a pre-prepared rope. I'm actually not into BDSM. As far as I know, never tried. Never had the inclination to. Edit. In deference to you lacking ice and empty. Female penguins sometimes act as prostitutes to get pebbles for their nests. On the other hand, once penguins find a true mate, they are almost certain to stay with them forever. Open bracket. Colon. My parents were swingers before I was born. That a close friend of mine is being cheated on by his girlfriend. Who was his first girlfriend? First kiss. First love and first time. There's a plethora of girls who would absolutely love to be his first anything, and the one he picks is a selfish, man-hopping bitch. I also know from my grandmother that my mother's husband is only using her for a green card. They currently live in 2 separate countries and she's been divorced twice before. I don't know what to do about either of these situations. But they're eating me alive. Edit. Woke up to a ton of messages helping me out. Thank you guys so much. Edit number 2. I realize that a lot of you have been referring to me as he. I'm actually a girl. Haha. About 90% of the shit on Facebook that my friends post. No one has a sense of privacy anymore. Nice try, Homeland Security. My ex's mother suffers from a satanic ritual abuse delusion. I only know because she shared the delusion with my ex. The whole family reinforces it. Largely because my ex's narcissistic father has found it useful as a tool of control. It's supposed to be a family secret. Satanic ritual abuse delusion. Do I understand that correctly? She believes she's been abused in a satanic ritual but hasn't been? What the hell? That sometimes a breech birth can go hilariously wrong. And a little baby arm can pop out the woman's anus and wave at you. If I weren't so scared when it happened, it would have been top kek all the way. I was sleeping at my friend's house a few years ago and she got up, get a shower and left me in her room. I decided to snoop around on her laptop and in her history I found how to fake an eating disorder, how to pretend to be depressed and acting suicide in her favorites. I never confronted her about it and we now no longer talk. Maybe she was worried someone else was playing her. I found out my boyfriend was having a party at my house last night. It was supposed to be secret because I am out of town. I found out from a friend after some gangsters tried to bust my door in. They also broke a front window and beat the shit out of my friend when he tried to get them to go away from the house. FCK, I hate living in the ghetto. Sounds like your bigger issue here is your scheming boyfriend, not the ghetto. The Viagra pills my dad has. Or that I'm going to die. Of all the living things on the planet, only humans are aware of their impending death. It would be nice to live a life of ignorant bliss. Imagine what you'd do differently if you had no idea you were guaranteed to die. I probably would have died earlier without that information. I'm not so sure that's a good thing. Girl I work with every day was arped while passed out at party and kept the baby. Every time she calls her child a blessing I can't help but feel a little creeped out. No. Man. Don't be like that. Obviously she shouldn't have been abused. But that child might still be the best thing she has going. A baby is the love of her life. And probably helped her heal and grow. Don't disparage a mother's love. She went through waist deep shit and came out holding a diamond. My best friend and his girlfriend are cousins. Neither of them knows. They have unprotected sex on a regular basis. When I moved to the Middle East I was horrified by how many people here are married to their first cousins. Then I did some research on the increase in birth defects in the offspring of first cousins. It appears only to be 1-2% increase in the likelihood of the children being impacted. I posted this above. But maybe you will feel a bit better about it.